In this case, Expert A, an experienced data scientist, investigated the root cause of recent incidents in Area 1. The first step was to build an investigation knowledge base. In the cloud computing system, the physical structure can be divided into 3 levels: area, zone, and cluster, with important entities such as customer and order. Expert A constructed a knowledge graph that included these 5 entities. First, Expert A created an entity called area, which represented the highest level in the structure. She added necessary attributes such as incident count and allocable nodes, and wrote a corresponding query template. Next, she duplicated this process for an entity named zone and connected it to the area entity, as each area contains many zones and each zone belongs to a certain area. She also wrote a query template to help find related zones of an area. Expert A then repeated this process for other entities and relations. The relations are as follows: a zone contains many clusters. Different customers select different zones. Each customer can make many orders, with each order typically using one cluster. The final knowledge graph consisted of 5 entities and 9 relations. She downloaded and saved the knowledge graph. The second step was to locate the anomaly. Expert A selected a cache of the database and quickly scanned recent incident logs. She found that a single user, customer 80, had encountered a large number of incidents logged as failed/compute failed in a short period of time. Expert A double-clicked on the first incident log and saw that the corresponding KPI line was highlighted. She then brush-selected a time range of nearly 1 week, containing peak values. Expert A began the reasoning stage. An entity card appeared on the screen, surrounded by recommended clues in 5 directions. She was drawn to the inner attributes of the current entity, Area 1, Zone 2. Expert A noticed that the number of unused reserved VMs and error code count peaked at nearly the same time as the incident count, while allocable nodes decreased during that period. This phenomenon led to many possible root causes. One possible cause was that several users reserved many allocable nodes in a short period, causing a jam. To further examine this hypothesis, Expert A checked the error code. She clicked on the filter to preview the main error code count. If her guess was correct, the main code should have been related to configurations. However, she found that the main error code was no room for allocation, which did not match her guess. Due to the mismatching error code, Expert A negated her first hypothesis about the customers. She then made a second hypothesis that the root cause might be related to the reserved VMs. Expert A decided to investigate an instance cluster for further insight. Intrigued by the obvious trend of incident count for customer 80, she added this clue. She then added cluster 25 to her investigation. In cluster 25, she found a peak in the unused reserved VMs line that occurred at the same time as the incident count. However, the utilization was low, indicating there were sufficient physical resources. Expert A remembered that the error code was no room for allocation, which meant there were no available nodes on physical resources for allocation. With these contradictory facts, Expert A further confirmed her second hypothesis. Then, a change in the build version about 2 days before the incidents caught her attention. Expert A checked and found that this latest update included a reservation strategy, leading her to conclude that the root cause was hidden behind the new build version. Next, Expert A looked at the line chart of build version count in Area 1, Zone 2 to examine the influence range of the root cause. She found that the latest build affected the entire Zone 2. Additionally, a similar pattern occurred in the whole Area 1. In summary, Expert A determined that the root cause was the reservation strategy, which affected the entire Area 1. Having gathered enough clues to verify her reasoning, Expert A began making annotations to record her thoughts. She circled anomalous evidence such as the peak in allocable nodes and unused reserved VMs, used rectangles to highlight key clues that supported or negated hypotheses, and completed her annotations. Expert A negated her first hypothesis about customers due to the mismatching error code. Her second hypothesis was supported by contradictory factors and changed build versions, while her third inference about influence range was confirmed by similar patterns in Area 1. Finally, she summarized the true root causes and provided mitigation suggestions. Expert A exported the investigation process as an image and posted it on the discussion board to report the incidents and the process of root cause analysis.
In the second case, Expert C first loaded the knowledge graph built by Expert A earlier and selected a cache. Expert C found that the number of total normal nodes in Area 7, Zone 1 had been dropping for a few days, and the trend had become steeper over time. Therefore, Expert C brush selected the time range for further analysis. Expert C found that while the total number of normal nodes was decreasing, the consumption rate of normal nodes was consistently increasing and approaching 100%. However, the utilization has not shown an overall upward or downward trend in its periodic fluctuations. This was highly illogical and suggested that once the available normal nodes were consumed, they were not being utilized as they should be. Moreover, Expert C discovered that the time point of the latest version update was almost simultaneous with the start point of the upward trend in total normal nodes. Expert C suspected that this update may have caused the current issue, possibly due to a problem with the recycling or validating of normal nodes. Furthermore, Expert C examined the cluster instances in Zone 1. Expert C added many clues about Cluster 10 and Cluster 98, two of the most relevant clusters. He found that many attributes were very similar except the stability. It changed in Cluster 10, while it remained balanced in Cluster 98. Since stability was not a common pattern, Expert C thought it was not the true cause and persisted in his hypothesis about the normal nodes. Expert C also discovered that the update had covered the entire Area 7. Finally, Expert C added his own reasoning logic to the analysis panel. He summarized the possible solution, which was to investigate the code blocks related to normal node judgment and recycling in the latest update. Expert C then exported this analysis report and completed the root cause analysis.